Welcome back to Henry's Garage. In this episode we get the gearbox assembly in, we get the Stag out, we take it for a test drive, it feels good. So success. One problem, my speedo and my tack aren't working, so I'm guessing I haven't installed the cable correctly in some way and I need to check on that. But problem for another day. I'm really pleased. Enjoy. Like, subscribe, comment, and thoughts on the tack speedo would be great. Cheers. Right, we're moving on to the reinstall stage of this process, and I'm worried about how I'm going to get these bolts back in, because there's really no access. So I thought if I just tape them on, I don't really think that's going to be strong enough. But if I tape those on, and then I've gone and got myself some extensions, and I'm hoping that when I add all my extensions together, I can reach from back here, come down the gearbox hole in the passenger compartment in order to access it. And if not, then possibly get at it from a slight angle, like that. So that's the plan. So we're going to get this back into the car, get it on its lift and lift it up. Right, it's there. That took a lot of effort. So I wheeled it underneath on the dolly because it's too high on the actual jack. Then I had to lift it off the dolly whilst lying on my back and then lift it onto the jack. Not easy. Didn't film any of it, not easy, and you can see we had a fluid still in there which is leaked out. Now I have the drain plug off. I do not have the drain plug in at the moment because I want it just resting on only the drain plug, so that's why we got more coming out as it was tipped up and back and forth and whatnot. So we're going to clean up that mess and then see what we feel like. Right, I've been under there for about an hour trying to get this to line up so that I can get the shaft in nicely lined up. Thing is, even getting this in from underneath is difficult because you've got to turn it a bit to find the right alignment and stuff. It's just, oh my god, I just don't know what to do. So I'm going to stop and have a think and hopefully have an absolutely gobsmackingly brilliant idea that someone else thought of ages ago and I reinvented. I'm having a little mini celebration here because I think I've now got it in. I haven't put any bolts in yet, I haven't quite lined it up, but I think we're there. I've had a lot of troubles with it, and it's taken me a long time. It's been really exhausting and painful, but the way I did it was lining up at the front first, and then I found I needed to raise the back in order to actually shift it the last sort of centimetre and get that bottom bit to connect up. And I actually pushed it from the back to do that. So I'm going to get some bolts in there now and we'll have another look. So I've got a couple of bolts in connecting the frame. So I'm going to install now the new connecting pipe. I've got the holes here So I just want to mark that so that I know where it is. Right, I guess I want to crush those down a whole turn. Good. So we can now connect this. Okay, and I'll snip this off and take it out. Right, I'm making good but slow progress, so I'm going to have a break here. But you can see here, stay there you bloody light. You can see here we've got a bolt in just there. Okay, we've also got one in just here, although this one isn't tight yet. So I've got two more on the other side, which you can just see. I've got to go around and tighten everything up, but it's coming. So in order to get at this, I took out the coil as well, which normally connects on just here. It just gives me that much more room. I don't wish to take out the distributor because then I'll have to do the timing and stuff, but I might end up having to be able to get at those bolts over there for putting it back in. Anyway, we're making progress, having a stop. Okay, so all of those bolts are back in. They're all torqued up all the way around. And underneath, except for one. And the one that I haven't got in is the easiest one of the lot. It's the one that goes here at the bottom. And so I've put all of the others in, and I can't find the one that goes in here, even though they're all in the same bag. In one or two places I've used new bolts, nuts. So I think I've got an extra one in, having put it back in. And since I've got an extra one in, I'm missing one over here, and I didn't want to force anything in here because it's one that stops, you know, it just goes in, it doesn't come all the way out the other end like the others. In fact, I will check that there was one there, but I'm positive there was. So I'm going to order that one to make sure I get the right one in. There was one, maybe two, that didn't have a thread the whole way. It's possible it was that, but it didn't go in nicely, so I didn't force it. So there we are. Right, so I'm absolutely shattered. It's taken me probably about 3 hours, maybe 4 total. Oh, sorry about this. It's taken me maybe 4 hours total to do that in work time rather than elapsed, because I had a good break in between. But it's there, and I'm now going to stop for the night, and then I shall continue on tomorrow afternoon, hopefully, work permitting. Right, before I continue on, I'm just going to tidy up a bit because this is too much of a mess to work with. Makes it too hard to find things. Although Chris Robinson would, I think, say this is very tidy. So we'll do that and then we'll get going. Right, so refitting is reverse sequence of removal. So we have done the Bellhausen bolts up. Now, we didn't have that, so we now need to raise the jack, take in the weight so that we can move the brake pipes back, and then we can add the 4 nylock nuts to put the transition back in place, the transition mount. Okay, I did have this on the right way. but for some reason it doesn't like going over everything when you try to bolt on up here first. So I put the bolts into here first, just loosely, and I've now got these all available to put in and tighten up. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so we now reattach the gearbox flange to the propeller shaft, but I remember this being an absolute bugger to get out, so I'm going to actually do the speedometer next. Right, I'm going to go and check the diagram for this, because this is an angle. I think there must meant to be a spacer behind here, which perhaps I've dropped somewhere, so I'm going to go have a look. Well, it doesn't show anything. It doesn't even show the lock washer that I've got on the spring washer, so I'm going to work on the basis we're okay. And unless I've not got it in fully, I'll have another look, but I think that's okay. So we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so I know I skipped ahead to number 13, but if we do 15, we will reattach the prop shaft to the gearbox. And what are the torques? Nothing in torques for that. Okay, so we'll just do those up. Okay, so I made marks with a bit of gold nail polish, and we got that on both sides. So if we line those up, we should be golden. Right, exhaust pipes from the exhaust manifold by undoing the 3 nuts, slacken the blah 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 blah. So exhaust back on next. You know what? Before we go on, we're going to go back, because I forgot to add these washers and stuff. Where was it there? I forgot to add these when I put on the gearbox support. So we're going to go back and do that. So quickly, how am I putting these in? I'm just slipping the top bit in first. Oh blast, I've done it the wrong way around, haven't I? So it goes this way. There we go. This bit goes over, and then the ring squeezes in like that. So I need to take this one apart because I've put the top on the wrong side. And anyway, I'll do them all and then put it on. Right, that is back on, and it's now got all the appropriate rubber in the way, so just as well I found that. So that's done. We can get on with the exhaust. Okay, so these are the bits that came off the exhaust, like that. 2, 3, 4, yeah. Can't remember where this comes from. Alright, and this was used instead of a stud. So I've bought a new stud for it, and I've bought a washer and bolt to go with that stud. So I'm going to start by installing this, and then we've got the gaskets and we'll start trying to pull everything together. Right, I tried videoing that, but I couldn't. So, well, I was saying I didn't know what that bolt was for. It was for in here, for this one. No, this one here. That holds it up in the middle. In order to get it in, I loosened off here and here. And that's all I needed to do. And by loosening those, that gave me enough movement to get them in at the front. I haven't talked yet. I don't know if they're meant to have talks, but I am stopping now for tonight, so I'll do that in the morning. It's the next day. Back at it. Now, I'm not totally happy with the exhaust at the back because it was in further before. So I think that must be that I managed to shift the back a bit in both cases. So I'm going to loosen these off and just see if I can close these gaps up on both of these exhausts first, and then I'll progress on from there. Okay, well, I couldn't make any difference there, so we'll just keep working. So we want to now reconnect the wiring, which was on the left hand side. So that's all connected up again. Okay, so loosen the engine to bell housing from the engine compartment. That's all done. Withdraw the gear lever, taking care not to lose the plunger, and spring located on the striker. Okay, so we've got new ones of those. So we want to get this back in. So I thought I'd give it a clean. Okay, so I used my grinding wheel. I just very carefully took a little bit off there, and it goes in now. So, where's my grease gone? Right, so we're going to grease it again, since I got it all over me now instead of where I want it. Right, so that's in. Good. Right, we've also done, in fact, number 9. I just need to put the... right, so I need to do number 8. Put back the overdrive switch and get the gauge on. So basically, I'm putting the gear lever all back together and then putting the console in. So we'll do that now. Right, so the gate is back in place. This is the new one. This bracket that goes around the outside only goes one way. I know because I put it on the wrong way, so I had it all off by, well, 60 degrees. I had this one over here, I think. But the holes only line up one way round, so get that right. Okay, so that's all back together. And it goes into first, second, third, fourth, and reverse. So, what's next? I've done the tray, I've done the gear lever, So reconnect the cooling system and fill it up, and then that means I need to do my coil as well. So I'll do the coil and the cooling system. I've got everything back together apart from this one wire here. So I struggled to find where the this vacuum pipe went. It's hidden away in here. This, I just can't find any connector for it anywhere. And I don't know if it's... I mean, it's mightily well hidden away if it's somewhere under here. And it's not long enough to even get as far as the coil, so I don't know where it goes. I'll have another look at my old video taking it apart if I mention it as I take it off, or maybe it was always loose for some reason. But right, so I'm now going to so slave cylinders on, everything's together. I need to put in coolant, drain and put in oil, put in transmission fluid, put in clutch fluid. Right. Okay, so I have here a bit of hose pipe, which you can see is running up and along the engine and continues along all the way up here. It's quite long because I actually use this for the MG and it seems to need a longer one. So that's how we're going to do it. Now, I don't know if I have an A or a J type overdrive. Should find out, but they both need 2 litres and then one needs 2 litres and a bit. So we're going to start with 2 litres. Right, I know I want to get the car on the ground before I finish draining the oil, but I want to put the oil filter back on first. So I have a new filter here. Oh, and I got a new O-ring as well. I got a new ring. I need to check that I get that seal out. Right, engine oil is about to go in now. It is 4.5 litres of the VR1 that will go in. Okay, engine oil is done, but I added a little bit extra to the transmission and then I've lowered it. I wanted to make sure there's enough, and so I'm just going to let that run off now. And once that stops, then I'll know my transmission is at the right level. So I'm going to leave that and start adding fluid for the clutch. In the car I've connected everything up. There we go. It's in neutral. Okay, just moving the seat forward a bit. Okay, that clutch pedal is a lot heavier now. So we're in neutral. Feels like it's going into everything very easily. So I need to make some room to try to get the car out. So I wanted to have a look at what I've got left over after I've done the work. Obviously I've got my clutch and bearing and the slave to master connector, and I've got 4 lock nuts which I replaced, right? But I've also got these. So this is a washer that goes on the transmission support. I couldn't find it when I was doing it, and so I just used a different one instead. This goes here. It connects to the bell housing, and then the slave cylinder pipe goes down through here, or the feed to the slave cylinder. It was too small. The gap was too small for the new pipe, so I didn't put it on. Now what I should have done is I should have put it on and then just used a tie to connect it to the connect it there, but I didn't, and I've just got a tie doing it instead, and I don't fancy trying to get in there and take it off today. And then this went onto the transmission, and it was to hold a wire, and I've tucked that wire in elsewhere because I couldn't get it to stay on when I was replacing it. So you know, no nuts, bolts, washers, anything like that. Everything else has gone back on, so pretty good. Wow, that gear change is so much easier. Right, I want to know if the overdrive is working. Oh, you know what's not working? Okay, overdrive works. Speedo and tack, both not working. So I must have installed the Speedo cable incorrectly. I'll need to look at that at some point. At the moment I'm driving and adding no miles to the car, so I need to do that, but not immediately. So we're going to finish this episode here. I'm really delighted. It is changing gears so much better than it has done in the whole time I've had it. I mean, I can really feel the clutch, and it really bites. I mean, you know, before you had to have it on the floor to change gear, and you can do it a lot earlier than that now, so very pleased. So yeah, we'll finish off and start on something new.